So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for our workshop today. My name is Kelly Wenzel, and I am the co-president of ANJEE. I'm also going to host this meeting today. Also with me are Kendra Mintz from ANJEE and Pat Heaney. They'll be kind of helping me out, and a couple other, there's a bunch of ANJEE folks on here, Mike and Laura as well. So we are so excited that you are with us today for our double workshop. So this is like a 2-for-1 in the hour. So we have aeroponic tower gardens and healthy soil, healthy food, healthy you, understanding the importance of farmland as part of ANJEE's 36th annual conference. So thanks to the generosity of a few sponsors, this year's conference was free of charge. We like free. So special thank you to PSE&G, New Jersey Natural Gas, and of course our anonymous donor who's a friend to science and environmental education in New Jersey. We will also be placing our YouTube link in the chat room. So all of our meetings here are being recorded and will be available to view later if you want to rewatch something or if you missed another session. So please subscribe to our channel so you get all of those. And just a few reminders of housekeeping. Please keep yourselves on mute during Q&A. We can type questions or comments in the chat. And if we feel like you need clarification, we'll kind of call you out to unmute. And there, like I said, there will be time for Q&A at the end. So we're going to get started with aeroponic tower gardens. So tower gardens are vertical aeroponic gardens, which provide an easy way to grow your own food year around. They're wonderful for the environment as they decrease our carbon footprint. They can serve as a great educational resource for children and can also promote STEM learning concepts. Our presenter today is Jennifer Sestock. Jennifer has a degree in exercise science and a master's of science in physical therapy. And after learning firsthand that plants protect and heal, she partnered with Tower Gardens by Juice Plus to help educate and offer communities a clean and safe way to source their own food. Sounds awesome. So we are going to go ahead and start. Take it away, Jennifer.
It's such an honor to be here today as part of the ANJEE Winter Conference. My name is Jennifer Sestock. I am a wife and mom of an amazing 10-year-old daughter. And as you just heard, my background is in physical therapy. As a therapist, I always knew the importance of good nutrition to protect the body. But I got to experience this firsthand after my daughter was born with a rare lung disease and seizure disorder. Proper nutrition, including growing our own food, has helped change the picture of my daughter's health. So I decided to partner with the Tower Gardens by Juice Plus back in 2017 as a way to help educate and offer communities a clean and safe way, as we said before, to source their own food and improve their nutrition. So this is just my information if anyone wants to jot it down from the beginning. This is a picture of me when I got my first tower garden. I was really excited to start growing my own food. This is back in 2017. So if anyone needs my information, it's here and I'll put it at the end as well. So tower garden, as explained before, it's a vertical aeroponic growing system. It allows you to grow your own fresh, nutrient-rich food without soil all year long, both indoors and outdoors. Tim Blank is the co-founder and chief technology officer for the Tower Garden Company. His wife, Jessica, is also a co-founder. Tim was the chief horticulturist for the Epcot Land Exhibit, and he is considered one of the world's leading authorities in aeroponic gardening. The Blanks are super conscious of where their food comes from. They feel the only way to control your own food supply is to grow it themselves. So aeroponics is an advanced form of hydroponics. It is the process of growing plants in an air or mist environment without the use of soil. It is the most effective and efficient way to provide plants with the necessary nutrients, hydration, and oxygenation that they need. So it uses a proprietary blend of natural earth minerals that are packed full of nutrients, which are essential to healthy plant development. These nutrients are mixed with fresh, clean water in the bottom reservoir, and they're pumped to the top of the tower and then showered down onto the roots. The result is greater nutrient uptake and superior growth for a wide range of plants. So aeroponics grows 30% more yield and 3 times faster than traditional gardening. It also uses 98% less water and up to 90% less space than traditional gardening. It is safe and environmentally friendly. There's a study that was done from the University of Mississippi back in 2014, which compared the antioxidant properties as well as the product yield of crops that are grown in aeroponics and as well as nutrient-dense soil. The study showed a higher product yield in aeroponics and comparable antioxidant properties of the crops to those in nutrient-dense soil, which I thought was really interesting. So this is an amazing picture demonstrating how bountiful the harvest can be. Look at that kale. It's just simply amazing. Now we're going to watch a short video about how the tower works so it's easier for everyone to visualize.
Tower Garden's state-of-the-art aeroponic vertical garden system uses both water and air to produce more colorful, better-tasting, and incredibly nutritious fruits, vegetables, and herbs. Tower Garden has a 20-gallon reservoir at its base that stores the Tower Tonic nutrient solution. Developed by experts in plant and human nutrition, Tower Tonic Mineral Blend enables superior plant growth and better nutrition from your Tower Garden produce. The process begins once the seedlings have been placed in your tower garden. Here they will be nourished with Tower Tonic nutrient solution. Inside the reservoir is a small, low-wattage submersible pump. The pump pushes the nutrient solution up through the tower to the top. From there, the nutrient solution drips through the central tower using a special device that evenly cascades the solution over the exposed plant roots. On the journey down the tower, the nutrient solution feeds the roots and becomes highly oxygenated as it cascades gently down the reservoir. This process is continuous, providing fresh oxygen, water, and nutrients to the roots of the plants. This patented aeroponic process enables food crops to grow faster than they would in soil, so they can be harvested more often. And it makes Tower Garden the healthier, easier, smarter way to grow your produce.
Hopefully that helped everyone get a better visual. So Tower Gardens makes gardening easier. There's no gardening experience or green thumb necessary. I do not have a green thumb. I also have limited time as a busy working mom. My husband thought I was absolutely crazy for purchasing a tower because I basically killed every plant I've ever owned. But with the tower, even without knowing what I was doing initially, I was able to grow plants on my first try because the tower garden practically took care of itself. Growing is just convenient and easy, which made me very happy and successful. It's self-watering on a timer, so it automatically delivers the water and the nutrients to the plants. For my family, this has allowed us to travel for a weekend without someone needing to tend to our garden. If we do leave for a week or more, we have someone check on the garden periodically, especially if the tower is outdoors or it's particularly hot. But it doesn't need to be tended to daily like a soil garden. There's no weeding, tilting, bending, or getting dirty. And this is especially helpful for anyone with injuries who's unable to bend or kneel. I know some people have had to give up gardening for this very reason, so towers are a great option. There's little maintenance involved other than checking the pH of the water periodically, filling the reservoir with water and nutrients when needed, and harvesting the plants. They are less climate sensitive and they're super resilient. In the picture above, you can see a seedling in a soilless medium called rock wool. This rock wool provides plant roots with oxygen and consistent moisture, encouraging rapid and healthy growth. The seeds are planted in the rock wool, and once the seedling is approximately about 2 inches tall or more, it's then placed in this little tower slot as shown above. The roots then continue to grow and are suspended in air in the middle column. So Tower Garden also always conducts its own informal studies on the benefits of aeroponics versus soil. So here are some of the responses received from Tower Garden users. No digging, no weeding, takes up much less room, low maintenance, veggies grow bigger. I don't have time, a green thumb, or good soil to grow conventionally. Tower Garden makes it possible for me to grow great tasting, nutrient-dense food indoors year-round with little effort. I live in an apartment. This is the only practical way for me to grow my veggies, herbs, and flowers without the mess and fuss of soil and fertilizer. I am too busy for traditional gardening, but Tower Garden does wonders for us. So there are two types of towers, the Flex and the Home. They're built with the same technology NASA uses, so the towers are really built to be endurance units. They're made from UV stabilized, BPA free, food grade plastic. It's opaque, which keeps light out, inhibiting algae growth. And this just keeps the plants happier and gives your tower a longer life. So here's a picture of the Tower Garden Flex, which is designed for both indoor and outdoor growing. It arrives at your doorstep with everything you need to grow. All you need is a freshwater supply and a power outlet. In the picture above, you'll see the basic unit outdoors. There's a few ancillary products you can add to this basic unit, such as a dolly to make it portable, or a grow cage to support larger vine-ripened plants. It holds 20 gallons of water and is 30 inches by 30 inches at the base, requiring less than 3 square feet of space. It stands 62 inches tall and holds up to 20 plants. You can also add an extension to it, making the tower 81 inches tall, holding up to 28 plants. To then grow indoors, you would add the LED grow lights, which are highly energy efficient. So this is my family's Tower Garden Flex. And on the left, you'll see my daughter harvesting some greens from the tower in the initial stages of growth. And on the right, you can see our tower in full effect with all the vine-ripened plants growing. We typically keep the tower outdoors from May to October. Once that first frost sets in, we clean out the tower, move it indoors, and grow in the winter with the grow lights. Here's some beautiful pictures of some vine-ripened fruits and veggies that we grew this year. You can see tomatoes, orange pepper, cucumbers, and watermelon. My daughter really wants to grow watermelon. Tastes so good. These are some photos showing how my family incorporates fresh Tower Garden produce into our meals. So on the top left, we have a black bean lettuce wraps. Below that is a weekend meal prep with salads in a jar using greens, cucumbers, and peppers from our tower. On the top right is a fresh arugula salad. And below that is arugula soup. I don't know if any of you have ever tried it, but it's absolutely delicious. So what else can you grow on a Tower Garden Flex? So basically you can grow just about anything but root vegetables and anything that would grow on a tree. You can grow fruits, vegetables, herbs, and flowers. So for example, varieties of lettuce, kale, beans, basil, cilantro, eggplant, squash, dill, strawberries, edamame, peas, cauliflower, broccoli, to name a few. Here is a picture of Chef John Mooney, owner of Bell Book and Candle Restaurant in New York City. He's using his Tower Garden Flex to grow all of his restaurant's produce right there on his rooftop. This is one last picture of the Tower Garden Flex, just showing you typically where we position the plants. Typically the herbs go on top, although greens can go there as well. Greens in the middle and vine ripened plants on the bottom. I love this picture, just a beautiful tower. So this is our Tower Garden Home, which is designed primarily for indoor growing of greens and herbs. It's smaller and more streamlined, so it's easier to tuck into corners or use for smaller spaces such as apartments. It holds 13 gallons of water in its reservoir, which is 24 inches by 24 inches, requiring about 2 square feet of space. It stands 58 inches tall and holds up to 32 plants. On the top here, you can see some micro green plants growing. It comes with the state-of-the-art LED grow lights, which I had mentioned are highly energy efficient. It doesn't take a lot of power to power a tower garden. The last comparison I saw was equivalent to a string of Christmas lights, believe it or not. The wheels are built right in and lock. So with the tower garden home, the lights, the wheels, everything is all a part of it in one package. So tower garden is really fun for all ages, especially for kids. Here are some pictures of my daughter enjoying the tower. On the left is another picture of her harvesting greens for a dinner salad. This is during the winter when we had brought our tower indoors. We keep our tower right in the kitchen during the winter, so it's close and easy to harvest for meals. But it really can be kept anywhere in any room, and some people even grow it in their basements. My daughter loves selecting a variety of greens. Rainbow chard is one of her favorites. How many 10-year-olds do you see eating rainbow chard? It tastes that good. Eating from the tower has helped to redefine her taste buds and has given her an opportunity to make better choices. Kids like to eat what they grow, so they're more likely to experiment and try new things. This is especially important for picky eaters. On the right, you see her having a really good time with one of her friends. They harvested cucumbers for lunch and decided to pose for a picture, making a tea for tower out of the cucumbers. I thought that was so cute. My daughter loves to show her friends the tower. They harvest together to make salads in a jar and healthy snacks. Her friends love seeing what we're growing, and they often experiment trying new foods that they normally wouldn't eat. Their parents are thrilled when they hear this. I mean, I get calls from parents like, "Oh my God, you got my kid to eat, spinach. How'd you do that?" I love when that happens. So here's some additional pictures of different tower harvests. As I mentioned, the produce is picked ripe and is very nutritious. We like to call it tower to table. I don't have produce wilting or wasting in the fridge anymore. That always bothered me if I didn't use all the produce that I bought at the store. I'm sure some of you can relate. Before it wilts or rots, you have the best intentions to eat it all, but a lot of times it goes to waste. Here, it's ready for you to pick and eat when you need it. The taste is so unbelievably fresh. You can really taste the difference. For me, I am not a fan of kale, but I will eat it off my tower because it tastes that good. So now I want to switch focus a little bit on the environment and environmental trends. So as you can see above, the quality and nutrient density of our food is on the decline. There's a quote from the Bionutrient Food Association that states, "The problem is we live in a world where natural foods can be nutrient poor. Even organic and local foods can be low in nutrition, depending on the growing practices, season, and seeds." Some experts in the field have stated that our food now has less than 1/3 of the nutrient density it had in pre-World War II, which is absolutely crazy. There is a shortage of water on 1/3 of the planet. Environmental toxins are increasing. Erosion and pollution has affected much of the high-quality food-producing land. Kind of scary what's happening with the environment. And that is why I love tower gardens so much. They are such an earth-friendly choice. They leave a smaller carbon footprint by virtually eliminating shipping and storage. It is truly power to table. It uses only 10% of the land and water of traditional farming due to its vertical design. This is particularly important in areas where there's water shortage or drought. Due to its closed-loop system, it recycles 100% of its nutrients and water. It reduces the need for pesticides and herbicides as well. The pH-balanced minerals and plant nutrients in the tower blend produce strong, healthy plants that can better protect themselves from plant pests and disease without pesticides. So it's safe for kids to touch and eat right off the tower. The plants are growing vertically up off the ground, away from rodents and other pests that you would normally find in a traditional garden. Also, due to the fact that towers are mobile on wheels, it can often save produce during inclement weather like high winds. A friend of mine lives out in California, and the I forget if it's called Santa Clara or Santa Ana. Someone will have to correct me. I think it's Santa Ana winds. Come in and often burn out her traditional garden. So now with the tower, she can actually move it and hide it and tuck it into a corner to protect it until the winds die down. So it has really saved her produce. So where can tower gardens be used? Well, they're being used all over, in homes, schools, restaurants, airports, libraries, and just so many more locations. Below is a picture of Kona Greens, Hawaii's first tower garden farm. Look at how many gardens they can fit in such a small space since we are growing vertically. Tower gardens are also used in restaurants, as I mentioned before, and this is a picture of Gallo Green Restaurant in Manhattan, New York. It's a rooftop tower garden, is supplying the restaurant with fresh produce. This is a picture of a tower farm at Chicago O'Hare International Airport. They can grow up to 1,100 plants at once in that small little space, and yields from these crops are used for various in-airport restaurants. It's a really impressive tower farm. These pictures show how towers can be used in schools as a wonderful educational tool. Now, with so many more families homeschooling, this is also a great option to teach children at home as well. We've been using our tower at home as an educational tool, incorporating it into home math, science, literary lessons, and even nutrition education. Kids love to be involved in the entire process, from deciding which plants to grow, to planting the seeds, checking the water pH, adding the water and nutrients, and harvesting the plants. And they are just amazed at how fast the plants grow and just take pride in the food they grow. So towers, as I said, are a great teaching tool. You'll grow more in less time with fewer resources. You can grow right inside the classroom. You'll have less mess. You can move it wherever learning is happening, which is amazing. With the dolly, you can wheel it from classroom to cafeteria to playground, pretty much anywhere students are. I love that you get free access to lesson plans, including a full curriculum from kindergarten up through high school. There are over 30 CCSS and NGSS aligned lesson plans and learning materials, which makes incorporating tower garden into a school's curriculum easy. Of course, teachers can change that curriculum, use what they want, but it's there if they need it. You'll also get a ton of growing support from a personal representative or our Tower Garden support line. Also, the Tower Garden website is packed with useful information, including grow guides and answers to frequently asked questions. So one teacher in the Bronx named Stephen Ritz ran with the idea of teaching his students how to grow their own food. He said towers make a great classroom growing system because they are safe, they are compact, and soilless. Many schools already use them to engage students and to bring lessons alive. While students witness firsthand how plants grow, they also learn the importance of sustainability, healthy eating, and giving back to the community. Stephen further explained that tower gardens are the most cost-effective school garden aligned to academic outcomes that one could ever imagine. They are about so much more than just growing your own food and growing healthy outcomes. It's about the science, the math, the record keeping, the data, the prediction, the analysis, and then there's the eating. When he says, when you expand their palates, you expand their vocabulary and their mind. So now I want to show you a video from Stephen Ritz.
Out of darkness came the most incredible light, and the legacy of my son and countless other students that I've had to bury far too young, which will far exceed their time on this earth. We are the poorest congressional district in America. That's an economic reality. You have 45,000 people living within 8 square blocks of each other, and healthy, fresh food is not available. For so many, food is the problem. But for all of us, food is the answer. In a 100-year-old building, 4 stories up, I am wrapping schools, teachers, and children around a garden. Kids can't wait to see what's growing. They can't wait to measure what's growing. They can't wait to eat what's growing and cook what's growing and grow more and talk about it and share it with their family, friends, and colleagues and integrate it into their classroom work. When you see kids who are happier and healthier, you can't help but be caught up with that. We grow food in school. We track it, we measure it, we date it. And if you expand their palates and their vocabularies, you expand their mind. This work is about giving life, creating life, perpetuating life. We are a whole school approach to education rooted in health, wellness, and mindfulness. The work has definitely evolved, and we are growing something greater. I go from a box to a garden in 45 minutes. My classroom is hosting people from 60 countries around the world, 6 continents. How cool is that? Our grades are up, our attendance is up, our school performance is up. You put a seed in a child's hand and you're promising them that's a plant, and they bet on that. So these children are betting on their future. Of all the plants I've grown, the greatest crop has been my students themselves. That's cool.
So Jen, I think we have to go to questions so that we can give our other speakers time.
Okay. I will just go, this is just quickly the lesson plans that are all on the website. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us. And here's my information again, just some pictures of some harvest from my family.
Jen, thank you so much. Before we get into questions, I just want to say I found that personally really interesting. And the whole time I kept looking over to my side, like, I can fit a tower there. I can go right there. So let's get into some.
Definitely give me a call. I'd love to help you get started.
Yeah. I might need your help convincing my husband that we have the room. But I think we do. All right. So first question is from Pat Heaney. She says, do you need to use distilled water for germination? I have a small aero garden and it always says not to germinate with well water.
No, you can use like a fresh, clean water supply, but sometimes if the water is too hard or too soft, certain well waters, if they're too hard or too soft, you might have to use, there's like a small filter that you can buy for like $20 to help the water. There's a whole guide on the website if your water is a little hard or soft. For me, I've never had an issue with it. I just use water right out of my tap, because I don't have an issue with hard or soft water. But if you do know if you have hard or soft, I could help guide you to what to get for that.
Excellent. And Kelly asks, what about the cost of the tower? Can you kind of lay down how much one might cost for the initial purchase?
Yeah, so the initial purchase, I don't have it down to the cents in front of me, but the initial purchase for the Tower Garden Flex without the lights, if you're just growing outdoors, would be about $52 a month for the year. So $52 each month times 12 months. The Tower Garden Home is about $80 a month, but that comes with the grow lights and the wheels and everything. So if you do buy the Flex, like I bought the Flex for $52 a month, but then I added on the lights and the wheels, and it ends up, if you want to grow indoors and outdoors with the Flex, to be about comparable to the Tower Garden Home. So it ends up being about $80-something a month if you decide to grow indoors and outdoors with the Flex and add on all the products.
And I think we only have time for like one or two more questions. How often do you need to feed with the proprietary blend, and how do you know if your unit needs maintenance for further care?
When the water gets lower, so usually I don't let the water go lower than about halfway. But when I see the water go up about halfway or a little bit more, I'll add water and nutrients to it. So every time I add water, I add an amount of nutrients comparable to that water. Maintenance, there's really little maintenance. You do have to harvest and eat off of it because you don't want the plants to bolt, but there's really very little maintenance involved, especially for indoor growing when you don't have issues with heat. Indoor growing, I've done almost nothing with my tower for the last 2 months except fill it with water once and put more nutrients in. Outdoor growing, only when it gets really super hot, then sometimes you will have to shade it a little bit if it's like 100 degrees or more for several days in a row. Sometimes I'll shade it or put some water bottles in the basin, but I mean, it's very rare that I have to do like a ton of maintenance. When I do bring it from indoors to outdoors though, and outdoors to indoors, I do clean it though. I clean it out and soak it and then rebuild it for whichever season I'm growing in. So I do clean it out between seasons.
Excellent. And we have some other questions related to the life cycle analysis of the product and sustainability, but due to time, we're going to send those to Jennifer and then share them out with everybody else later.
Sure.
Thank you again, Jennifer. I learned a lot. I think a lot of people enjoyed it. I'm already going to start making space for mine.
Oh, wonderful.
Even if it's just in my mind. And I'll turn it over to Kelly right now.
Okay. All right. Yes. Thank you again, Jennifer. So much information jam-packed into like 30 minutes. So we appreciate that. So like Kendra said, Mike and I will take the list of questions and then just kind of assemble the answers for you all so that you have them along with all the other chats. So moving on, kind of almost in the complete opposite, but not really opposite direction a little bit, is really talking more about farmland, healthy soil, healthy food, healthy you, understanding the importance of farmland. So with us today, we have Nancy Sardone and Adam Mastapeter. With the world's population now over 7.5 billion with a B, it's important to understand the reasons why protecting farmland and maintaining healthy soil is important for food production. Upper elementary students will consider the actions they can take to protect farmland by engaging in a persuasive writing unit, concluding with a letter writing campaign. So Nancy Sardone has a PhD and is a professor of education at the Georgian court and teaches elementary methods courses. Adam Mastapeter is an elementary education graduate student at Georgian court and is a fifth grade. He says plans to in your bio, but you are a fifth grade teacher, right? Working now today, first day back with his students. So I will let you all take that away so we don't spend any more time. So Adam and
Nancy. Yeah, hi. That's okay. Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Yes, just to be clear, Adam is in his last semester, full-time student teaching. So he is available to get jobs in your school if you're interested. Anyhow, so we are sharing this presentation today. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right now. We have split this in two sections. I'm going to try to quickly go through the lesson plan associated with this project that Adam and I worked on. And the lesson plan is associated with, actually the lesson plan comes from Population Connection, Population Education. Our own Pat Heaney is familiar with the organization. She actually influenced me, I'm so thrilled to say that, influenced me to get involved in Population Connection and run workshops, really. It's all pro bono, you know, much like we're all doing here today. Anyhow, the New Jersey Student Learning Standards addressed in the lesson and the writing unit that Adam is going to talk about, we believe covers these three standards of writing arguments. I think we could, I think everyone can benefit from learning how to write a good argument. Civics, two of the new social study standards. One is in civics, propose a solution to a local issue, and then another standard in social studies geography, talking about how humans are very powerful toward the good and the bad in terms of helping and hindering our environment. So this lesson plan, and I'm happy to share it with you on behalf of Population Connection Population Education, is called Earth, the Apple of Our Eye. It really is a demonstration of the limitations of our farmland and looking at arable land. What I'm going to share with you today is really elementary. There is a secondary version that has more statistics in it. If you're interested in that, I can send that to you as well. All right, so you could start off your lesson asking a few questions of your students to get them thinking about the importance of soil and what comes from soil. So what are some foods you eat that grow in soil? As Kelly had said, a complete polar opposite to the presentation we just saw. So looking at root vegetables, actually. So we're looking at, potatoes, carrots, etc. And then you could get into another discussion about what are some of the foods that grow above the soil, but rely on soil's nutrients. And you look at lettuce, tomatoes. I mean, everybody has a favorite. Mine was radishes when I was a kid. That was the, please Dad, plant radishes and take care of them and do everything for me so I could eat them. Another question is, what can people do to keep land healthy so we can keep growing quality food? And you can look at things like preventing erosion. Hold on one second. Preventing erosion, keeping the ground clear of pollution, planting trees, and buy local. Why that's a good idea. So here are some ways that you can, not ways, but yeah, I guess different demonstration tools to talk with your students about this particular lesson plan. You could actually, it depends on where you are. If you're teaching in a virtual mode or, if you're in person. We're in this crazy space right now. But anyway, you could go ahead and just take an apple and with a knife and then use some toothpicks and just show students what portion is arable land. That's the whole goal, to show that so little of the planet Earth is actually arable land, which is why we have to take care of this non-renewable, limited resource. Or you could have kids complete a paper plate as representative of the Earth, or you could do something in an animated mode, which is what I did, which I'll show you in a second. As you can tell, it's not perfect by any means. I was just messing around. So I'll show you that as well. And again, if you would like these PowerPoint slides, let me know. If you would like the lesson plan, let me know. If you have questions about the writing unit, let me know, or contact Adam directly. So the goal is this, really, is to convey to students through any one of these three types of demonstration tools that we need to appreciate the limits of the farmland. We need to really understand that so little of the planet Earth is available for growth. So we have to take care of the very little land that we have. So here's an animation that I put together. So it starts with a beautiful, delicious green apple, with a circle on top of it. We can split it in half and in quarters, and then we could number 1, 2, and 3. Well, you could put a 4 there, I guess, as well. And what I did with these 3 quarters was to show that it represents all the water in the world, with the cute little fish, not so cute little critters in the water. And then we take the remaining quarter and split it in half. And so we see that 1/32 of the earth is our desert, swamps, mountains. And then the remaining 3 30-seconds are for parks, factories, and suburbs. I just use the golf stick to represent parks. And so the last is all we have, 1 30-second, or basically 3%, that's an arable land that's fit for growing food. We could use the apple peel to talk to students that, again, either just showing it or slicing it, depending on where you are and what kinds of tools you have available. You could hold out the peel and say this tiny bit of peel represents the topsoil, which is a very thin layer of Earth's crust in which people grow food. It's less than 5 feet deep, takes 100 years for 1 inch of topsoil to form, etc. So you're really trying to make a point that there's very little, arable land, that which we do have, if we don't take care of, it's gone. And once toxins get in to the land, for whatever reason, it's impossible to get out. So best that we really take care of what we have. You could, depending on the age and level of children, level more so than age, you could just go very, very simple questions. What is a non-renewable resource? What things cause erosion? If you wanted to get more involved in the mathematics with upper level elementary, secondary, even how much land is needed to feed 1 person, and you look at 0.17 acres of arable land, you could multiply that out by the number of people in the United States, the number of people in other places in the world, to try to get a look at, the folks in the United States eat a lot of food compared to other places in the world. We all know that anyway. You could get involved in factors that determine the diet of a given population. You could talk about where else does food come from besides farmland, and what are some ways that we can help preserve farmland. This is for you as just an education piece. Again, you could share this with your students. I don't imagine the 2nd grader would get this, but certainly you do, and maybe you can convey this information to them in a way that they can understand. But nonetheless, we've really outgrown our amount of arable land per person, really is what it comes down to. And so we have to be even more careful, even more thoughtful about what we do with the land that we have. So I like this graph. I think that it's pretty clear in showing, there's no column here. We're in a little bit of trouble. Okay, so that is where I will stop. Again, here is my name and email address if you want to contact me for any reason. And so I'm going to turn it over to Adam Mastapeter, who is one of my students. It was a student in my class last semester. Did a beautiful job, I thought, with a writing unit based on this lesson plan. So Adam, I will stop sharing my screen and turn it over to you.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Sardone. I want to thank everybody here as well at ANJEE for giving me the opportunity to speak with you guys today. It was a really great honor that Dr. Sardone asked me to speak with you guys today. Yeah, so Dr. Sardone kind of really went over basically the inspiration for this writing unit for me. And for last semester, I had the pleasure of being one of her students, and we were kind of, myself and my peers, we were tasked with kind of picking a lesson and then creating an entire 8-lesson plan unit centered around that lesson that we chose. And Apple to the Eye was the one that I chose. And the reason that I did was because I thought it really provided not only a great opportunity for students to kind of not only develop like a great way to create persuasive writing, which is kind of really the backbone of our lesson. What we were doing in class was kind of creating like a writing unit, but also tying in those multidisciplinary subjects like with social studies, where students can kind of learn how to become better global citizens and preserving their farmland and kind of reach out to local officials within the community. So that's kind of where my lesson came in. So I'm going to just share my screen with you guys very quickly. So this was a population connections project, and Dr. Sardone kind of went over all of the standards that were associated with this lesson about writing arguments to support claims was kind of the background and the backbone for this lesson. And then I also kind of tied in civics about, proposing a solution to a local issue like New Jersey farmlands. And they would actually, for this lesson, students would be writing a friendly letter to Governor Murphy of New Jersey about a topic that they would use for change. And in this case, about preserving farmlands or healthy soil and things like that, of that nature. And then, of course, geography tied into it as well, because it's about how human activity is affecting the environment around us. So one of the sources that I provided for students throughout this unit is they would have the opportunity to read an article where Governor Murphy was going to actually build solar panels on existing farmland and how that would kind of affect the environment. So students would kind of be using that as a way to kind of construct their argument, depending on which topic that they chose. So for the first lesson, as I said, this was an 8-lesson unit. This was actually developed for 4th grade. So for this topic, the first lesson, students, I kind of gave a rundown of what persuasive writing is, because that's what they would be working with. And I just kind of went over briefly with them. In most of these lessons that I have, I kind of created these little anchor charts for them to kind of go and review basically all of the main components of what they're going to be asked to do. So since persuasive writing was the main component of the lesson, I kind of just walked them through that, what that entails, what persuasive writing is, and what you would be looking for persuasive writing. And then so for this lesson as well, I kind of gave them this chart. And here, students were able to see how they could choose their own topic. And they would kind of get to compare how a topic could either be too small or too large, and kind of compare that to what makes a great topic for a writing assignment. So for this example, I have 3 topics for them to choose from, such as how does erosion affect farmlands, and what are ways we could preserve farmlands in New Jersey, and then how are ways that soil health can impact the environment within New Jersey. And then students were actually able to compare that to either topics that weren't very detailed enough, or they were either too vast that didn't really help them narrow down a topic. So I kind of used that for the summative assessment for this particular lesson. So every lesson kind of concludes with this little worksheet or graphic organizer that helped them kind of lay out the entire foundation of the letter that they were supposed to write to Governor Murphy. So for this example, students would have the opportunity to choose between 3 different topics, and then they would kind of fill out this entire worksheet, just kind of getting them brainstorming a little bit. What was the topic that they would choose, and then why they chose that topic. For lesson 2, students would be working with deciding what kind of purpose for their lesson, or I'm sorry, for the letter that they're writing, the audience, and then the genre. And so again, I just kind of created these anchor charts that kind of just give them an idea of what these items are used for. But in this case, we're writing a letter to persuade, and we're writing it to Governor Murphy. And then I kind of also break down what a friendly letter entails. Again, because this is kind of, at 4th grade, they probably know how to do this already, but I'm just kind of walking them through the process, providing those anchor charts and those graphic organizers for them to really help them develop the schema that they need to succeed. And again, I provide like a lot of visuals for them to kind of relate to that, where their heading goes and their greeting and their signature and so forth. So for this assessment, students were kind of just given a little overview of what their topic would be, how to write a greeting, what would kind of be in their body. So just kind of a bit of an overview of what their main topics are, and then a little bit of a closing. So lesson 3, as we move forward, this is really kind of where students are going to be doing their research. And I actually provide all of that for them. So here, again, if I go to this link, this is the Forest and Deconstruction Act that Governor Murphy was going to do to install solar panels on local farmland. So students would actually be using this information to construct their letter. And depending on which topic they chose, I've also provided articles for them to go through so they could kind of formulate their evidence to include within their letter. And then here, for this assessment, I have just a graphic organizer for them. And this is basically laid out the exact way that I would be expecting them to have their letter at the end of it. They would have their topic sentence, they would have 2 reasons, and then provide evidence for what those reasons are, and then a bit of a conclusion. And then I just kind of provide them with a sample of what that would look like, a completed graphic organizer. Lesson 4 is actually writing the rough draft. And here students are kind of given the opportunity to write their own rough draft based on all the evidence that they gathered on their topic. And here I actually provided them with transition statements, because I know that's a big problem, at least even for like 5th graders that I'm dealing with now, is creating those transition statements, especially when they move from one topic to the next. So I thought here, just kind of giving them a bit of an overview. They don't have to use these, but at least it helps them when they're doing their writing and their rough draft. And then, of course, with their conclusion. This is basically what a final letter should look like, with all of their details filled in. So I kind of, once again, just provided that organizer for them when they eventually move into their actual final draft. So for the 5th lesson, this was actually probably my favorite of the entire unit, because I thought it allowed them to kind of begin to think creatively and write creatively. So this was kind of crafting leads or creating an opening hook statement to really grab the reader's attention. And I kind of discussed 6 different opening hooks for them to kind of talk about. There's dialogue. They could use sound effects. They could ask a question. They could use action verbs, snapshots from moments in time, or they could even go back to, reminiscing or using flashbacks. And basically what I had them do was fill out a worksheet where they would be given topics that they could actually experiment and write creative opening hooks, depending on which one that they chose. So they would get to choose which one they would want to use, and then they would circle the position that they took. And so I just kind of gave them examples here that they could use. And then at the end of it, they could actually put what their topic was and then craft an opening statement for their letter. And I kind of just allow them to talk about, which one that they chose, and then circle, the position that they took in regards to that. So for lesson 6, as we get towards the end of it now they're kind of going to be taking what they did with their rough draft from lesson 4, and they're practicing with hooks worksheet from lesson 5, and now they're kind of really going to create that rough draft. I go over cups with them, capitalization, their usage, punctuation, and spelling. And then I kind of go over how you kind of go in and make these changes and edits to your own work. I provided a bit of an overview for them, an example of ways that you could kind of go in and look to see how your grammar is and make sure that you're going through everything properly in your final draft, and then how you can go about making those corrections. So again, it's just about providing the visual for them to really help them succeed really at the end of their lesson. So lesson 7 now is about creating feedback, sharing their rough draft with a peer, and then being able to kind of go in and make those edits based on that peer feedback. So not only that, students are actually getting the opportunity to read what other people are writing too, to kind of get that opportunity in different perspective as well. And so for this lesson, I actually provide them with a checklist that just runs down everything that they would need to go through throughout this lesson. So here, this is pretty much everything I would be looking for in the final rubric. How that it contains all the components of a friendly letter, that it uses facts and evidence, it discusses a solution to problems, it has a strong opening lead, and then, of course, the fact that it's properly addressed to Governor Murphy and things like that. And then here, students can actually fill out like a peer review worksheet where they discuss, the things that they liked about their partner's letter, some advice that they would give, any questions that they would have, and then, of course, suggestions for their final draft. And then for the final lesson, they're just going to put all this together. And basically, I go down everything that they would be looking for in this letter, how it should be 4 paragraphs, 3 sentences each, should have a strong opening lead. They have 2 arguments with their evidence, have a strong conclusion. And then basically I provide them with that checklist again. So here's your checklist. Make sure that your letter has all of these components before you submit it to me. And then I provide them with a bit of a prototype example of how a final letter really should look. And then here at the very end, I provide them with the rubric. And the rubric, I basically just use the skill of the actual standard and the expectations for that, of how they would meet those expectations and what I would be looking for. But again, I provided all of those components for them in their graphic organizers. So the hope is that there isn't really much room for error at the end of it, but ultimately, I would hope to kind of really make them, really get thinking about the environment around them, and also while improving their writing skills as well. And if anyone wants access to this lesson or these unit plans, you could contact me at my email here at am81148@georgian.edu, and I would be more than happy to share that with you. And once again, thank you, Dr. Sardone, and everyone here at ANJEE for giving me the opportunity to share this with you guys.
Thanks, Adam.
All right, thank you both. We're going to get into some of the questions. And remember, if anybody wants to type a question into the chat for our two presenters, now's the time. First question comes from Pat. So did the kids get to actually send the letters out?
Well, actually, this was just a lesson that I had created during my class. So I didn't actually get to implement this into an actual classroom yet. So this was a 4th grade unit. So it's my hope to, as I go forward into, when I eventually start teaching, my hope is that I can actually get to implement this into an actual classroom. So it's something for the future. It's not anything I was able to actually implement yet.
Okay. The next question is actually from me. Do you feel like today's an age where the word fact and opinion seems to get really bled over and like muddled. Do you have any tips for kind of like really reaching kids and kind of discussing how to be a critical reader so you can be a critical writer, and how to really discern fact from opinion at a closer scale?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think anything, well, usually in this regard, I kind of gave students like the actual research that they could use. But really, it's just about going by your own gut opinion of what you're reading, I think, and making sure that fact checking, that's a big thing nowadays too, because as you go on, as we know, but even at younger ages, I think it's more difficult for them to fact check. But I think it's just really about keeping yourself in the know of what's going on in the environment, or just even anything around you, and to really kind of implementing that as you write and just practicing with it. Really, I think practice is the only way that you could become good at anything. And that's really what this was about, to kind of have that practice and just work your way through that step at a time. Anything else to add to that, Dr. Sardone?
Yeah, on a different level, I know that we're spending time at the college level teaching students side by side what is a persuasive a paper, a persuasive essay directly compared to an argumentative essay. So when you do them side by side, meaning, lesson after lesson, when you do them side by side, it's easier to depict which is which. And I think that's, if I understand your point, Kendra, I think that it's hard to discern what an argument is. So we think argument means screaming or talking the loudest. Whoever talks the loudest wins, So that's why I know for the class that Adam was in with me, I'm really trying very hard to focus on building arguments. I know for social studies, in order to get licensed in the state of New Jersey, the EdTPA is all about building an argument and teaching students to build an argument. So there's a lot more attention these days on how to build an argument based on fact, not opinion. And the opinion falls into the persuasive essay. So I think as we make that, as we get better at making those demarcation points between these two essays, these two styles, I think we have something. But until we do, until we have a corpus of interest in doing that, we're not getting very far. Yeah, thanks for asking, though. Good question.
Mm-hmm. And I believe it's 3 o'clock, and that is our ending time. So I'm going to turn it over to Kelly.
Thank you.
So just a couple of points as Nancy and Adam, you were speaking, is first, going back to Jessica's presentation, with your apple, it becomes very clear, for older students, I think even making that connection to, all right, we have such a limited resource in our soil and in our land. What are some other strategies we can use to get the most out of our land, and how can we grow more food? I have 5 people in my house. I don't have 5 times 0.17 acres, right, to grow food on. So, this is a way to increase food yield, which I thought was an interesting connection. And Adam, I just want to commend you for, I've been working in environmental education for 25 years, and seeing truly cross-curricular lessons where you're teaching what you need to teach and incorporating the environment in, and showing that this is not an extra thing, but you're teaching what you need to teach, but you have this concept. Spot on. There's hope for the future. Fantastic. You're welcome. So as I said, any of these other questions, because there are a few additional questions in the chat, we will get out to the proper speakers and get them all out to you. I believe emails have been placed in the chat to reach out to the speakers directly. Yes, just a few reminders. If you have not bid on the auction, bid or check your bids, because they're moving along. People are battling it out over items at the auction. There's still time to register for in-person field experiences. I think the weather's supposed to clear out for the weekend. There's a couple great things happening on Saturday. Check those out. And the fees all go back to the organizations at the end. So you're supporting some of our great member organizations for that. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a great rest of the day, and hope to see you on future sessions. Thank you so much.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye. Take care.
Thanks. That was great. Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you, Dr. Sardone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.